What's going on, people? Jeff Brown coming to you live and direct from Killeen, Texas, with this thing I like to call Jeff Brown's Wild World of Boxing. And this is my aftermath show, I guess you could say. A lot of good fights this past weekend. We had Chris Arreola going against Thomas Adamek. Adamek turned out to be the winner of that fight. No big surprise there. Carl Froch versus Mikael Kessler. Great fight. Two stand-up European boxers whom I normally wouldn't really care too much about, but that turned out to be a really good fight. And of course, the undercard on the Arreola Adamek card was Angulo and Joel Julio. And before I get any further into this, I want to send out a shout out to Mr. Julian Foster out there. My bad. Yeah, I got the dates wrong. Thanks for correcting me on that. And for all you out there that are probably looking at me like, okay, how could he mess up the dates on that? Yeah, first of all, I was a little bit tired today. I've been working hard lately, and when you got two little ones, it makes it kind of tough. So you tend to forget a few things here and there. But my bad on that. Hopefully it won't happen again. But I'll be sure and be a little bit more accurate and not just decide to throw a video together at the last minute. But anyway, want to talk about the Chris Arreola and Adamek fight a little bit. First off, I mean, truth be told, let's just get real, people. Chris Arreola has a lot of potential, but my feeling, and I'm pretty sure all of you feel the same way. If you're not going to come in tip-top shape, if you're not going to put forth the effort to at least train properly and get yourself into some kind of fighting shape, which it seemed to me like he tried to do a little bit, but once again, 250 pounds, when this guy was first starting out, when he was coming in shape, he would at the lowest, 220 to 230, and that was okay. At least he was in some kind of shape, but 250 here, 260 there, I mean, what do you expect? And, like I said, it really didn't surprise me that Adamek won this fight because, the height and reach difference wasn't all that much different. But what I was really impressed with as far as Adamek was concerned, he's gone from being a crude stand-up European slugger to a pretty decent boxer puncher. He showed a lot of poise and moxie in there, showed a lot of head movement. I was really impressed with the way that he carried the fight and took it to Arreola from round one on. Even in the middle rounds when it seemed like he kind of faded a little bit, it just seemed to me that he was purely in control, despite the fact that Arreola possibly hurt his hand somewhere between the 5th and 6th rounds, and then again sometime in the 9th. Clearly, Adamek pretty much dominated this fight the majority of the way. So I was not surprised to see the decision go his way. And in my eyes, this guy is definitely a threat to be a strong contender in the heavyweight division. I mean, I haven't seen a good heavyweight fight in a long time, and this was a pretty solid fight to me. And Adamek, I've been watching for quite a while. He's one of the few guys that I could say is from one of these European foreign countries that has actually taken the time out with good trainers and good promotion of himself, and just his management was actually smart enough to see that he needed to fight here in America. So I have a lot more respect for Adamek than I do for those guys like your Arthur Abrahams, Carl Froch, Mikael Kessler, stuff like that. Even though it turned out that the Carl Froch and Mikael Kessler fight was actually a pretty good fight for what it was, it still doesn't boost my respect for either one of those guys, because you guys are still two guys that I believe that really haven't paid your dues. And this was just a case of the two fighting each other. And, in the end, a lot of people probably felt like, including myself, that Froch deserved the decision. But I look at it this way. People. That's karma coming back on him, because when he fought Andre Dirrell, had that fight been anywhere else except Nottingham, England, Andre Dirrell wins that fight easily. Okay, whether yeah, it was a close fight. Yeah, it was no doubt about it that both did enough to win the fight, but I really felt like the decision should have went Dirrell's way, and it ended up going to Froch instead. But that's neither here nor there. What's done is done. And I really felt like this was justification for what happened to Andre Dirrell in the last fight, the last time that Froch fought. He was on Kessler's turf. I mean, the bottom line being, you know, when you're fighting in this guy's hometown where he's considered a national treasure, you know, it goes back to something that Muhammad Ali used to say quite often. If you know, even though Kessler wasn't the champion, he was the hometown favorite. Okay, anytime you're in a situation like that as a fighter, you need to at least come in with the mindset that you should at least try to go for the knockout or put forth such an effort and be so dominant in that fight that there shouldn't be no question. So, Froch really, you know, he has nothing to be ashamed of, but at the same time, he really didn't show me anything different than what he did, you know, to Jermaine Taylor, what he did with, you know, so many others that I've seen him fight. You know, still holding his hands down way too low. He makes himself an easy target for overhand right all the time, and you know, I believe it's just going to be a matter of time once he gets in with somebody like a Andre Ward or Alan Green. You know, anybody that has a little bit of pop. Heck, you could even throw Lucian Bute into the picture with that one. Who at this point, I would really like to see Froch fight because this guy's going to get knocked out eventually if he doesn't start getting them hands up. But not taking anything away from Kessler, he put up a good fight, you know. But really, I felt like it was a fight that the decision probably should have went Froch's way. But once again, justification, that's karma coming back on Froch. You know, it's obvious that, you know, it probably could have been maybe a split decision, maybe even a draw, but it's really tough to say. But you guys just go ahead and be the judge of that for yourself. Want to talk also about the Angulo and Joel Julio fight on that was the undercard fight for Dominic and Chris Arreola. Wow, I am impressed with what I saw big time from both of those guys, especially Joel Julio. He made great strides towards making improvements on the mistakes that he made when he fought James Kirkland his last time out, in which he was stopped somewhere around the 8th or 9th round. I don't quite remember. It's been last year around about that time. For those of y'all that don't know who James Kirkland is, he was a great up-and-coming fighter, and unfortunately he got himself into some trouble. He's from here in Texas, Austin, Texas to be exact, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Killeen. But you know, Joel Julio showed great improvements with that. He showed a lot of good head movement, good boxing skills, and he was taking the fight to Alfredo Angulo and had him frustrated, you know, for probably the first few rounds of the fight. I would say from 1 to 4, it was all Joel Julio, and then somewhere in the middle rounds, you know, Angulo started to pick up the pace. He didn't get lackadaisical, and he didn't get frustrated. You know, he started picking up the punches, started picking up the pace. He did what he had to do to win. And in the end, like I said, I was really impressed with how he basically fought his way back into the fight and proved himself to be worthy of being a good contender. Didn't really understand the whole WBO interim title thing because I wasn't even aware that Angulo was an interim champion of anything at that point. I know he had just had a fight with Harry Joe Yorgi, and he knocked him out, you know. But where he got this WBO belt, you know, I mean, I've said it before. I've never been a big fan of the alphabet banners. You know, I'm more of a proponent of the Ring Magazine saying who's the champ and who's not the champ. So, you know, once again, great ending for Angulo. He ended up knocking Joel Julio out in the 11th round, which was very impressive. At first, I was a little bit shocked, but after rewinding it a few times and seeing what happened, you know, it was clear that Julio probably would not have been able to continue, or probably would have got himself seriously hurt. But otherwise, you know, great fights this weekend. You know, got the biggest one of all coming this weekend, the one that we've all been waiting on. Myself, I've been waiting on this since 1999. You know, it's what more can you say about it? You know, except that I can say that I still don't have a pick yet. That will be forthcoming. And I wanted to say just a little something. I'm going to explain myself on as to why I don't have a pick for Floyd and Mosley. For me, it's more of a case of two guys that I really like and respect and have respected over the years, who've been circling each other, you know, for quite a while now. These guys have been circling each other for probably close to 12 years now, as far as, you know, potentially being good fighters. And I'm going to continue this in part 2. So just bear with me.